أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه من السنة بسنة من الدين أما بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا واجتنابه اللهم إنا نسألك خير ما سألك عبدك ورسولك نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذ بك عبدك ورسولك نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, and welcome to another episode or part of the Happy Marriage Life series on our Friday night halaqah every Friday night, 7 p.m. Please don't forget to like our page and subscribe to our YouTube channel and like this video. We need more and more subscribers. If you're watching this for the first time, please pass on the word to other people. Share our Facebook, our YouTube channel, and Facebook page to other people. Inshallah, once we have 1,000 subscribers on our channel, our masjid will get help and benefit from that, and we appreciate your help in helping our masjid grow bigger, inshallah. So for the last 4 Fridays, we have been doing this series about happy marriage life, and we spoke many different aspects about it. Today, our topic is about how to strengthen the relationship between husband and wife. Because after marriage, after the nikah, the journey begins for the husband and wife. And the more years they spend together, the more strengthening and bolstering and bonding is required. Because if the relationship is fragile and frail in the early stages, then it's bound to crack or break up due to the weakness and fragility of the relationship. Therefore, we see many things that Rasulullah SAW told us in different hadiths that are applicable more so for spouses, for husband and wife, than anywhere else. And also, we see from the lifestyle of Rasulullah SAW how he treated his wives, how he strengthened his relationship with the wives, how he built his bonding with his wives. That is a role model, uswa hasana for us. So the first thing we want to share today is the hadith of Rasul Sallam. He said that tabassumuka fi wajhi akhika sadaqa. That that smile in front of your this is a general hadith, so we are taking this in a general way and then applying it into a husband and wife relationship. So the hadith is that Rasul Sallam is saying tabassumuka fi wajhi akhika sadaqa. Your smile in the face of your fellow Muslim brother or sister is a sadaqah. It's a charity, meaning you earn reward. You earn reward with Allah in akhirah. And that is why the hadith is there to encourage us Muslims in general, to smile to their fellow Muslim. So a Muslim brother may smile to another Muslim brother. A Muslim sister may smile to another Muslim sister. Now, when we apply this hadith in a marriage relationship with a husband and wife, imagine how far it will go and how impactful it will be having on the relationship. Husband smiling to the wife smiling to husband. A lot of times moods are not good. There are tantrums or tempers or things. Just a smile goes a long way to cool things off. And one of the ways to strengthen this relationship with each other is that if one person is not in a good mood, then the other person smile at them, and that will alleviate and relieve many of the stress or anxiety or pains that you want to say in terms of the relationship itself. Remember, we said that people who are looking for love before marriage, they are doing things that are not permissible according to the Quran and Sunnah of Rasulullah. But in those things that they do, one of the things that they do a lot is hanging out with each other, smiling and looking at each other and things like that. That is something that is halal for a husband and wife to do. A husband and wife can look for hours and hours at each other. Now, I know usually people say, what are you looking at? A lot of times wives or, husbands may ask that question. to their spouse, what are you looking at? Why are you staring at me? Well, because you are my wife, you're my husband. If I don't stare at you, if I don't look at you, who am I going to look at? I'm going to go look at a non-mahram outside in the house, outside the house on the street. So the more hours you spend with each other, smiling and looking at each other and talking and etc., that would build the relationship. That will build the bondship, and that is very, very important to realize in one of the first steps to one of the first steps to strengthen the relationship. Another thing we see that Rasulullah, when he would come to his house, to his wives, he had many wives. So when he would come and enter into the houses of his wife and enter them, first thing he would do is greet upon them, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And that is a very, very strong gesture and goes a long way, a long mile in strengthening the relationship between husband and wife. Because when you say that, you are saying peace be upon you, and the malaika also are saying Ameen, and the malaika are also, the angels are also saying peace. So therefore, the exchange of peace and greetings between husband and wife in the house is a very, very important principle in terms of peace, tranquility, serenity, calmness between husband and wife. And imagine 365 days a year, many years pass by in the relationship, and this salam and this peace exchange between husband and wife is bolstering their relationship, strengthening their hearts together, joining their hearts closer. One of the and added to that is shaking of hand. A lot of times people forget your wife or your husband is halal for you. I mean, shaking hand with a non-mahram is not allowed, although scholars have a difference of opinion on that. But shaking your wife or husband's hand and holding on to the hand, uh, and even hugging and kissing, this is all halal and permissible from the Sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu, because these are the gestures that strengthen the relationship. You see, I said this many times in the previous episodes and parts that no two fingers are alike. So how can two individuals be alike? So when you feel the grievance of something that is not right in your husband or wife, then you can complement that through these gestures of smiling and saying salam and shaking hand and hugging and kissing and all of that, because that would alleviate the tension and stress in the relationship that may arise due to various circumstances and various reasons. Many of the spouses or many of the couples who have gone to the brink of divorce or talaq, we see a common principle, underlying principle in all of those couples, and that was the gulf, the distancing between the husband and wife. Especially after kids, as kids are growing, husband and wife begin to become further and further apart from each other because of the household chores, family, tasks and assignments and whatnot. So, busy in the family aspects, a person may become very distant. And that is why it's very important to understand that we do these little things. They may seem little, but they go a long way, like smiling into the face of your husband or wife, shaking hand with them, hugging and kissing them, saying salam to them and entering. Another very important thing that Rasulullah used to do when he would enter the wives, the rooms of his wives, besides saying salam to them and all that, is leave his worries and concerns out of the door. So the moment you're coming in, whether husband is working or wife is working or both are working, and they come into the house, so you leave your worries, your tension, your stress of the work and whatever outside. You come home with a different frame of mind, with a clean slate. That whatever is there is outside, nothing inside the house. Obviously, due to the pandemic and the COVID for the last year or so, people are working from home. So obviously that adds on to the stress and adds on to the aspects of the. Walaikum assalam to Brother Zamir from Florida. Welcome. So obviously that has created a lot of dissension among spouses because both may be working from home, So managing household chores and errands and whatnot, at the same time managing the kids and their work and etc. And at the same time forgetting these little things such as smiling, saying salam, shaking hand, looking at each other. Just looking at each other also, breeds a lot of love and affection and understanding with each other. One of the things that I found in the counseling of couples in marriage counseling is one of the reasons of their um, you know disagreements, or one of the reasons of their fighting, is that the other person, the other partner, is not um, not spending enough time with them, and secondly, obviously, when they're not spending enough time with them, then secondly, they are not looking at them or smiling at them or giving them concern, giving them value. So these are things that we see are from the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallam in strengthening the relationship with the spouse. Another thing that our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to do is appoint nicknames or short names or special personal names to their wife for home. So instead of calling your wife, or for that matter, for your husband, calling them with their name, calling them with some kind of a nickname, a pet name, a favorite name that you would want to just address them. And that is why we see that with Rasulullah sallam, he used to call Aisha Rizal Anha as Aish, Ya Aish. The name or the nickname could be a version of the original name, or it could be a totally different name. You want to call your wife or husband something else in your own personal language, whatever language you speak, whether it's Urdu or Farsi or Arabic or English or any ethnic language that you speak. You have some special word in that that you assign for your spouse, and that also breeds love in them and affection in the spouse, husband or wife, either partner, and they feel more important, feel more valuable. You see, the longevity of a marriage is determined with the strengthening of the relationship. The more stronger the relationship is, then when the storm comes, and definitely storms are going to come in a marriage life. No marriage is a bed of roses. No marriage is like a breeze, flowing through and no issues and no problems. Definitely, there are going to be ups and downs. There's going to be storms coming. To wither those storms, the people who worked hard on strengthening the relationship will outdo the storm and will go through that because they have enough substance in their relationship that can absorb the shocks and stresses of the relationship. And that is why it's very important to express the love for each other all the time, especially when there are no kids, it's just husband and wife in the house. You can express the love for each other, nicknames, calling them, smiling them, holding them, shaking hands, saying salam, as much as you want. You could be staring at each other whole night if you want. Like they show in the movies that the lovers, boyfriend, girlfriends, are like staying up all night looking at each other. And that is what the fantasy world, the movie world, tries to portray and show that this is what you're supposed to do. But that is not what Islam is. Islam says you can do that with a husband and wife, not with your girlfriend or boyfriend. And amazing it is when we get married, we forget about all those avenues that we can do in terms of romance. Romance is not a bad thing. The word romance is not evil or cruel. It's not haram. You can romance with your wife or your husband, your legitimate, your halal relationship. Romance with your girlfriend or boyfriend is haram in Islam. Remember when I said in one of the first episodes of this series that we started that Allah said in the Quran Himself that وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. Allah is the one who built the love and mercy between the two spouses. So some of the ways that we can strengthen our relationship with the spouse is by doing these things that the Rasul Sallam did with his wives also. Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh, sister. Barakallah fi. So that is why appointing nicknames, expressing the love for each other, shaking hand with the spouse, saying salam to them. Number five, smiling at them. Number six, appointing nicknames or some short names with them. Number seven, leaving your worries outside the house when you enter the house. Whatever your work or stress related things outside, leave that. Number seven, when you are leaving the house, you say goodbye, say salam as you are leaving the house. So that is also a part of a gesture. And when you are at home, then looking at each other, staring at your wife, staring at your husband is perfectly halal and permissible, and it's rewarding too. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes very happy when he sees a husband and wife smiling at each other, looking at each other. And Allah calls upon the angels, and the angels make dua for the spouses, they make dua for the husband and wife, that Allah, keep them healthy and connected for a long time. And then number eight is, or number nine, is to guard each other's secrets. That is another very important step in strengthening the relationship. If you remember, a couple of Fridays ago, I mentioned in this series that one of the hadiths of Rasulullah is, Man satara ala mu'min satara Allahu yawm al-qiyamah. أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Rasulullah is saying in this hadith, whoever covers a believer, meaning covers their faults, their shortcomings, their weaknesses, Satr Allah Yawm al Qiyamah, Allah will cover them on the day of judgment. On the day of judgment, when there are zillions of people around us and nobody wants to expose their sins and weaknesses and shortcomings, Allah will cover them on that day. Allah will cover their weaknesses, their sins, their shortcomings on that day, because the person covered their fellow Muslim in this dunya. Now, although this hadith is a generic hadith talking about your fellow Muslim brother or sister in Islam, but it's more applicable in a husband and wife relationship. One of the biggest problems or biggest deficiencies in a marriage relationship is when husband or wife start talking bad about each other with their friends. Imagine a husband going to his friends and saying, "My wife is this, my wife, my wife, my wife, my wife." Likewise, imagine it's a wife, a woman, picking up the phone or going to her friends and saying, "My husband is this, my husband is that, my husband, my husband, my husband." So all the friends of that wife will think that, oh, she's married to such a cruel and wicked man. Likewise, all the male friends of the husband, they'll be thinking like, oh, his wife is like the worst woman on the earth. And as this negativity prevails, the company of the friends begins to make their mindset that it's okay for them to separate. It's okay for them to divorce, because they're always blabbing about their spouse. They're always talking bad, negative about their spouse. And when a husband and wife does that, they are clearly violating the hadith of Rasulullah, where he said, "Man satara ala mu'min, satara Allahu yawm al-qiyamah." Whoever covers a believer, covers their faults, their mistakes, Allah will cover them on the day of judgment. So not only, according to this hadith, not only are we supposed to cover the faults of our Muslim brother or sister in Islam in the community, but more so, we need to cover the fault of our own beloved wife or husband. Even with the parents, one of the first signs of turmoil and turbulence in a marriage is when the husband or wife go to their parents and start complaining and whining and moaning about their husband or wife. Imagine the husband going to his parents saying, who did you get me married into? She is this, she is that, she is this. So the parents of the husband is thinking that, okay, we got the wrong girl for him, or he probably married the wrong woman, and maybe he should get divorced. Likewise, if the wife goes to her parents' house or talks to her parents and says, my husband is this, my husband is that, he's this, is that, you know, then the parents of the girl, the wife, will think that, oh, this man is so wicked and cruel. He's not fit for my daughter. She should get separated or divorced from that. Remember, I said one of the first things in the early stages of this series, in fact, episode number 2, and the purpose of spouse episode or part, we said that one of the purposes of spouse is uh, to cover each other, because of the ayah that Allah says in the Quran in Surah Baqarah, "Hunna libasun lakum wa antum libasun lahun." They, the wives, are a clothing for you, and you as a husband are a clothing for your wife. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that husband and wife are a libas, are clothing What does the cloth do? It covers your body. It covers the scars on your body. It covers the stains on your body. It covers the deficiencies and shortcomings. So if husband and wife are libas for one another, they should not expose their husband or wife to someone else, especially more to their own brothers and sisters, siblings, and their parents, and their uncle and aunts and cousins, and etc. And that goes in line with the hadith of Rasulullah that man satara ala mu'min satara Allah yawm al-qiyamah. Whoever covers a believer, their faults and mistakes, Allah will cover them on the day of judgment, on yawm al-qiyamah. And this is why it's very important to understand that one of the aspects of strengthening the relationship between husband and wife is to be mindful of these little intricacies, these delicate things. You know, husband-wife relationship is very, very delicate, very, very delicate. Why? Because husband and wife relationship is not a blood relationship. You're not related to your wife or husband through blood. You're only related to your husband and wife through a piece of paper, a nikah, you know, the contract that zawajtuka, I married you in my contract. So a piece of paper is connecting, just a piece of paper. How light is a paper? You know, just a piece of paper is connecting this individual with this individual. So the relationship is already very delicate, very fragile. Just a piece of paper. You know, you tear that piece of paper or you violate that piece of paper, then boom, you're gone. You're done. So because the relationship is based on a piece of paper, we have to work hard to strengthen the relationship. Yes, it's not a blood relationship between husband and wife, but you can make it more than a blood relationship if you follow all these 8 or 9 things that I just mentioned today in this episode. So these 8 or 9 things are those that will strengthen that. And then number 10 is spending money on your wife and your children, or likewise spending money on your husband and the children. If the wife is working, she can spend. If the wife is not working, she can still spend from the money that she gets from the husband as a gift or monthly stipend. She spend and purchase on that, because the reward of sadaqah, reward of nafaqah, is equal to from Allah, and it's like an ibadah, worship. Rasulullah ﷺ said to Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, إنك ما تنفق نفقة تحتسبها إلا أجرت عليها حتى ما تضع في فم زوجتك. Rasul ﷺ is saying that to Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, that verily, oh, you Sa'd, whatever you spend nafaqah on your wife, and you anticipate its ajr, so much so that not just with money, but even with the morsel of food that you put in the mouth of your wife, that is sadaqah. Forget about buying clothes and flowers and gifts and perfumes and shoes and bags and all that. Forget about that. Rasul is saying, even if you put a small luqma, a small morsel of food in the mouth of your wife, that is sadaqah, and that is ajr from Allah subhanahu. Imagine putting food in your mouth, and the mouth of your spouse is so huge. Then imagine the amount of money that a person spends. And that is why Allah has ordered the men in the Quran to earn a livelihood, earn a living, and spend on their wife. Obviously, not spendthrift, not lavishly in luxury, but within norms, but spending on the wife with gifts and necessities and whatever they have, the needs, that brings the relationship closer and closer and stronger. A stingy husband or a stingy wife will never succeed in a long, lengthy marriage relationship. And it doesn't mean that you have to take a loan to spend on your wife or husband. It doesn't mean that you have to be hand to mouth. Whatever meager resources you have, I mean, whatever you can afford spending, you can spend, and that will bring the reward of strengthening the relationship. Look, Rasul said to Sa'd ibn Waqqas that even if you put the food in the mouth, just one lukma you put in the mouth of your wife, that is sadaqah. Subhanallah, Rasul has made marriage so affordable. He's not saying you have to give dhahab and fidda and mal. He's saying whatever you can spend from your meager means and resources, fine. Yeah, if somebody's a millionaire, they can spend like a millionaire. But if somebody is, hand to mouth and limited, they can spend according to that limited amount. Allocate certain fund just for the spouse. And also, when they're eating food together, it's no harm You know, this is an affection and love that you can show to your spouse by putting food in the mouth of your spouse. Husband putting it in the mouth of the wife putting it in the mouth of husband. You know, it's perfectly halal. There's nothing to be shy or embarrassed about. You know, it's not something that is, against chastity or morality, modesty. Husband and wife is a halal relationship. Yeah, it becomes an issue of vulgarity and promiscuity when you're doing that same thing to your girlfriend or boyfriend. It's amazing that society has become so ajib, so strange, gharib, that when a girlfriend and boyfriend are putting food in the mouth of each other, nobody says ooh ah or something like that, or nobody is nobody's shocked. But if a husband puts food in the mouth of his wife, then suddenly everybody says, oh, this is so much and this and that. Whereas this is from the Sunnah of Rasulullah. Rasulullah used to do this with his wives, with Aisha radiallahu anha and Khadija radiallahu anha and the many other wives he had. So that is very important to understand. In another hadith, Rasulullah was asked, Su'ila Rasulullah sallam, Ayyu darahima khayr ya Rasulullah sallam. Rasulullah was asked by someone that which darahim or which dirham, dinar or dirham was the quantity of money at that time, like dollar or pound or sterling. So he asked, Ayyu darahim khayr ya Rasulullah, which of the dirham or darahim is the best ya Rasulullah? So Rasulullah said, Dirham anfaqtu fi sabilillah wa dirham fi raqba wa dirham ala zawji. This person asked that which dirham of the three is the best and most valuable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he said, one dirham that I spend in the path of Allah, a dirham that I spend in the freeing of a slave, or a dirham that I spend on my wife. So Rasulullah replied back to him, Dirham ala zawjik, that one dirham that you spend on your wife is more valuable in front of Allah than the dirham you spend in fi sabilillah and in the releasing of a slave, which was a kind of sadaqah in those days. So the wife is so high in terms of nafaqah, in terms of spending. And here I would like to say one of the ways that husbands can strengthen their relationship in a marriage is by spending money and not being bakhil, not being stingy, and earning a living. There are many marriages that break apart because the husband is not working, doesn't have a job, or doesn't want to work, wants to be a lazy bum, just sitting at home, or just wants to, like in the country where I come from, in Pakistan. Many husbands, they just want to sit at their father-in-law's house and just sit there and tell the wife, your dad is rich, filthy rich. He's giving money to you. That's more than enough. I don't need to work. Or some husbands in the South Asian culture, they're just lazy and lethargic and they're not working or hardworking and they don't want to work. That creates problem in the marriage. Remember, we rijal, Allah said in the Quran, Ar-rijalu qawwamuna ala nisa. Men are the qawwam, the protectors and providers and supporters and caretakers of the nisa. Allah did not say An-Nisa'u qawwamuna 'ala rijal. That's not the ayah. The ayah is the other. That the men have been ordained and obligated by Allah. This is in Surah Nisa, Surah 4. Allah is ordering the men that look, you have to go out there in the streets, you have to go out there in the society and earn a livelihood and earn money, work hard with your sweat, with your blood, with your effort, work hard, get that money, then spend on your wife, spend on your kids. You are obligated by Allah. Meaning, this is amazing. This is something, this is what makes me jealous from women. I envy women being a man. I envy women. Why? Because on Yom Al Qiyamah, on the day of judgment, Allah is going to hold every man by the neck and say, why didn't you work? Why didn't you spend money on your wife? Why didn't you take care of your bills? Why didn't you provide for your family? Why didn't you pay for your kids? But Allah is never going to even ask. Allah is not even going to look to the woman to hold them accountable that, hey, why didn't you work? Why didn't you earn the money and livelihood and spend? That makes me jealous from women. I envy women because of that. Because this is like queen, this is like luxury. Imagine Allah on Yawm al-Qiyamah not asking a single woman why you didn't work and take care of the family and provide for them. They are not obligated. If they want to work, that's fine. And remember, whatever money she works and earns, that's her money. She is not obligated to use that to pay the bills, to pay the rent, or to pay the food or clothing. No, that's her money. She is rich. Allah has made women super, super rich in Islam. A woman could be earning a six-figure salary and she keeps the whole money to herself, doesn't share a single inch, a single iota with her husband or for the house. She could say, this six-figure salary is mine. This is my money. Habibi, this is all mine. You go get lost. Go away. Yes. The woman can say that. The wife can say that. But a husband cannot. Subhanallah, Allah musta'an. A husband, whatever he's earning, he has to spend that on the wife, the kids, the family. Whereas on the other hand, the woman is super, super free, luxury. All her money is for her. And on top of that, icing on the cake, if she does spend anything on the household bills or on the children or on the family expenses, that is counted as sadaqah. So no man, no husband can force his wife to work. No man, no husband can force his wife to take his money. I've seen many marriages go bad, sour, bitter, because the husband is greedy and stingy and grabs all the money. The woman goes and works, gets a salary, and all the salary is served. So many sisters have come to me in as marriage counseling saying, my husband takes away all my money. Whatever I earn, takes it, says it's my money. No, it's not the husband's money. The husband has no right. In fact, that is criminality. It's criminal. It's stealing, sariqa. If a husband takes money bil jabr, by force from his wife, what she earns, this is stealing. And it's a debt, it's a dain, it's a loan, it's a debt on it. He has to pay back unless she forgives that loan. So, brothers and sisters, in a marriage relationship, one of the most important things to strengthen is the aspect of earning a livelihood, especially for the husband, because Allah has ordered them, and then using that money to spend. 90% of the marriages, they fail when the husband doesn't work. Lazy, lethargic, a bum, loser, not working, not earning. Because Allah, that's why Allah said in the Quran, "Ar-rijalu qawwamuna al-nisa." The men are supposed to take care of it. Now, of course, exceptions allowed. If a man, a husband, is handicapped, is weak or sick or cannot work, that's a different thing. That's excused. But someone who is like we said, someone who's healthy and filthy and healthy and rich, and can rich in terms of health, and can take care of things, and he doesn't want to work and he doesn't want to spend on the money, that's disaster. The wife has a right. The wife has a haq, a right to take divorce from a man who doesn't work, doesn't have a job, doesn't earn risk, who doesn't bring money home and take care of the house bills and spends money on the children. I feel very sad for the kids and that wife who are literally drooling, and they are literally suffering because the man is just lazy and useless. And I mean, I don't know what to say, but that is why it's very important. But at the same time, I feel very jealous and envy of women that Allah is not going to hold them accountable or hold them by the neck and say, why didn't you work? Why didn't you provide for the family? Allah has made the woman in Islam, in the Quran, queen. The queen never works. Do you see the Queen of England working? Do you see the Queen of Japan working? Do you see the Queen of Netherlands, Holland working? No queen ever in the world works. In Islam, in Quran, in Hadith, in Sunnah, Rasulullah, women, the wives are like queen, and they are on a very high status. And that is why when Rasulullah married Khadija, radiallahu anha, and then after that, she was just at home relaxing, taking care, and Rasulullah was taking care of all the work of Khadija. And all the other wives of Rasulullah, Hafsa and Aisha and Sauda and Zainab and all the others, Maria, none of them worked. Rasulullah treated them all with queen, even though Rasulullah did not have much money, but he would provide from whatever he had. So this is very important to understand, my dear and sisters in Islam, that in order to make a spouse relationship, in order to make a husband-wife relationship strong, we have to follow these 10 things that I outlined. If you joined us late, you can always rewind and listen that what are those 10 things that we talked about today, which make the relationship stronger and stronger in a husband-wife connection, because it needs to be strong. As you grow in the marriage, you have to make it stronger, so that when big storms come to repel and thwart the marriage relationship, you can absorb the shocks waves, you can be patient and still pass through the storm and have longevity. Especially 10 years of marriage, 20 years of marriage, things will arise, midlife crisis and whatnot have you. If the relationship is weak, it will be fragile. It will just break, easily break. But if the first 10 years, 0 to 10, 0 to 10 is the time when you invest in the marriage. The first 10 years of marriage, you invest so heavily and deeply to strengthen it, so that from 10 to 20, that when the storms and the difficulties arise, you have invested so heavily that it perseveres, and the notion of talaq never comes to it because of the strengthening. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive our sins, may Allah forgive our shortcomings, may Allah give us tawfiq to apply these 10 things that we learned today from the Hadith of Rasulullah and from the ayat, so that our marriage life becomes more and more stronger. Inshallah, next Friday again at 7 p.m., we'll continue with another episode of this marriage life series. Please like this video and also share it with your friends and family and circle, especially if you know there is a couple that is suffering and they're going through tough time. It doesn't hurt sharing this video with them. Perhaps, who knows, someone listens to this and their mind changes, their heart changes. You get the sadaqah jariyah, you get the reward of providing them some form of knowledge which help save their marriages. Brothers and sisters, right now the biggest thing we need in the Muslim ummah is saving marriages. There's a lot of couples out there, a lot of marriages out there that are in jeopardy, in problem. And as a Muslim brother or sister in Islam, our biggest responsibility is to save a marriage. If you know or if you hear about someone having trouble in marriage, become the arbitrator, become their mediator, become their helper, become their assistant. Offer your help. Tell them, can we sit down? Can me and my husband sit down with you and your husband? Let's solve this issue. Let's solve the problem. Don't start laughing and mocking at them that, oh, look, they're about to get divorced. Oh, their marriage is going, in tantrums and things. No, the moment you hear somebody's having difficulty in marriage, you should become concerned as if like somebody's dying out of sickness. You should be worried and concerned, try to help them. So make dua for them, counsel them, help them, and share knowledge with them. Also, we request you all that watching that please subscribe to our channel and ask your friends and family and circle of or acquaintances, wherever they are in the world, to subscribe. Our masjid needs your help. We need 1,000 subscribers on our channel so that we can get donations from Google, from YouTube, which will help our masjid a lot. We are a very small masjid. We don't have that much funds and fundraising. We don't do that much. So this is one of the ways, an easy way, an easy sadaqah, an easy way to donate funds just by subscribing. It doesn't hurt much. It doesn't require much. You don't. It doesn't require money. You don't have to spend money to subscribe. All you gotta do is just click subscribe, and then ask your friends and send them this link, and ask your friends that they also click and subscribe, so that the more people subscribe, the better for us, and it's sadaqah jariyah for you. Jazakallah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.